Top of the morning to ya! Hey, check it out! Check it out! I'm on a boat! Yo! Hey, on my boat, buddy! Hey, get on my boat! On the boat! Oh shit! 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 Hey! Get out of the way! Hey! Up yours, buddy! Hey, don't forget to hit like and subscribe down below and drop a comment. Welcome aboard the RSS Commentary. I am your host, the Captain Cale McCollough. And in today's top news story, Jussie Smollett, Jussie baby, gets convicted of a hoax hate crime. That's right. You heard it here. There is systemic racism in America. There is this epidemic of white people discriminating against them minorities and the gunmen, and lo and behold, turns out to be a bunch of garbage. Turns out that the Teachers Association has been covering up the failed public schools. The Teachers Association likes to, instead of firing the bad apple teachers, they just shuffle them around. Then you get Mrs. Appleby coming out of the closet every once in a while, teaching a class of kids, teaching them how to hate white people. And so they got to cover up how bad the schools are. And so they have to oppose the charter schools. And they say that there's systemic racism. It's not the failed public schools, but it's the systemic racism. That's the reason why the corporations run by the Democrats aren't hiring the minorities and the gunmen. That's why they put the glass ceiling over the top of the woman's heads, because it's this big, bad patriarchy of these racist, white supreme pizzas that are putting burqas on women, and they are locking the women up, they're raping them, they're beating them, they're making them go to church and have babies because they have bad intentions. And then you get people like this Jussie Smollett guy, and he's an attention whore. He's sitting up top the ivory tower preaching for nightmarish politics, as he wants people to like his posts and watch his movies and TV shows. So he wants to be the star, and he hates Donald Trump so bad. He said he was coming hard at 45, and that the white supreme pizzas, Trump supporters, came after him, and they beat him up, and they put poured bleach on him and put a noose around his neck. But only there was one problem with the whole story. It's that Jussie baby didn't drop the sub. Oh, Oh, Jussie, baby! You should have dropped the sub, baby! Oh, you got busted! Busted! Oh! But, sorry, article from Fox News, it says actor Jussie Smollett was found guilty last week after he claimed he was the victim of a hate crime in 2019. And of all things, the Subway sandwich was a key piece of evidence in the case against him because Jussie didn't drop the sub. So now Jussie's going to jail and he's going to be dropping the soap. Oh, you know Jussie likes to drop the soap, baby. He's all about it, dude. He's probably fantasizing every night, thinking about Bubba, his new boyfriend in the penitentiary, where he's gonna go do some time because he got convicted on 5 of the 6 charges. But the truth does not matter to the Black Luda mob. Here in this next article from Breitbart News, LA Black Lives Matter calls Jussie baby trial a, quote, white supreme pizza charade, end quote, colon, quote, never believe police, end quote, because the criminals are the ones that you should be trusting, like Jussie baby. Enough talking about this attention whore. Get out of the news. In this next article from Breitbart, report colon, Joe Magoo Biden to strip Colombian FARC communist of terrorist designation. If you're unfamiliar, this is where a lot of the cocaine has been coming from, and it comes through the network of the massive amount of illegal immigrants that have been pouring across the Biden-Harris open border through their sanctuary nation state, where they are trying to pack the U.S. electorate by flooding the place with so many illegal immigrants that it outnumbers the native-born people who are mostly white, because they don't like the way that the white people vote, because the white people vote in such a way that it protects their family, because they care about their family and God and the Constitution. And the liberals, they would prefer to force vaccinate you while they say, my body, my choice. Let me see your vaccine passport. If you don't have anything to hide, then why don't you just show me your papers to prove that you're not a white supreme pizza? This next article from BBC News. Tornado rips through Amazon warehouse. Drone footage shows the destruction. Let's check this out, baby. It says it says tornadoes have ripped. Hold on. Is that the one? Sorry. It says tornadoes have ripped through several states, killing dozens of people, authorities say. And last I heard about these tornadoes, they were continuing to wreak destruction. Can we see the video? Coming at you from the BBC. Here we could see drone video of the destruction of the tornado, and it is devastating. There was Amazon workers who were working there at the time, I think. I'm not sure exactly what happened. There was a
tornado was hitting the back of the building. The trucks were coming in. I told him to jump out the truck and duck.
I decided to come down here to see what was going on. I had no idea the building looked that bad, and I'm worried sick. I just want to know if he's okay.
Keep these people in your hearts and your prayers tonight. There are a lot of dead people. Last I heard, there was more than 70 dead people. Here in this next article from Newsweek, CNN staffer John Griffin charged with enticing moms and daughters into sexual activity. Griffin, age 44, of Stamford, Connecticut, was arrested on Friday and faces 3 counts. And what was this dude doing? So he was online. The FBI busted him. He was the indictment says that between April and July 2020, he used Google Hangouts and Kik, spelled K-I-K, to communicate with people purporting to be the parents of underage girls. He allegedly used the applications to say that the woman should be sexually subversive and inferior to men, and that a woman is a woman regardless of her age. And quote, of these communication platforms, Griffin sought to persuade parents to allow him to train their daughters to be sexually submissive, end quote, the indictment says. So this is a peek inside of the CNN workplace. It's every single time you turn on CNN News now, you're going to have to be wondering, are there pedophiles banging moms and daughters over there at CNN headquarters? They recently fired Chris Cuomo because his ratings were really bad, and his brother was really corrupt, and he was trying to cover up the corruption from his brother's office, and he got fired because of it. And what other scandals do they have? They have CIA assets who work for them, part of Operation Mockingbird, where the CIA has plants in most major news outlets where they use them first for some legitimate reasons to counter foreign spy activity, to put out the official government message. But it's CIA Project Mockingbird, so you can't trust a single thing that comes out of the criminal news network, aka the communist news network, the one that pushes the racial division in the United States because their ratings suck so bad. They need to race hustle in order to bring in the money to supply the massively corrupt organization that they run. Oops. Here in this next article from the Daily Mail, Taliban gunmen kill police officer and wound another in violent Pakistan attacks against polio jabs. Taliban gunmen on a motorbike, quote, opened fire, end quote, on a police security detail that was escorting the polio vaccinators to Pakistan Khyber Pakhtunkhwa after ending a short ceasefire with the government. Because apparently polio is still such a problem that they need to vaccinate you for it. I mean, I know that it's a deadly disease, but there's lots of deadly diseases. Most people think that polio was eradicated by vaccines. This is actually false. Smallpox and polio were both eradicated by improvements in sanitation, like washing your hands, because they got indoor plumbing. Once they got indoor plumbing, most of these diseases became a thing of the past because most of them do not spread like the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So there's two schools of thought. There's one that you're not going to get polio and your immune system is like a dog. It likes to smell everything. The more it smells, the better its nose is going to work. This is true from my knowledge. Whether or not we need vaccines as an artificial immune system and whether or not we need to instead just focus on treatment of the disease, for instance, monoclonal antibody treatment for COVID, because that's going to give you the best possibility chance of not needing to be hospitalized or of dying. But instead, the politicians who are at the top of the criminal disease center, the Dr. Fauci's of the world, they would prefer you to get injections of experimentally approved drugs because that is well, they particularly, their science that they want to push, their political agenda, this is what they focus group test, and this is what they can get the most people to click on and the most people to support and the most people to gaslight and to turn with demagoguery people against each other, because when we fight each other, then we're not fighting them, and that is the nature of the beast. Here in this next article from Breitbart News, Black looter mob leader Newsome to FNC's McCollough, you come from a place of white privilege. Fox News anchor Martha McCallum had a heated debate on Friday's broadcast of, quote, the story, end quote, with the New York Black looter mob co-founder Hawk Newsome. And so what they like to do is they like to say that there's something different about the white people, that every single white person is at the top of this white privilege hierarchy. They all live in their white privilege house with their white privilege picket fence and their white privilege dog and their white privilege kids and their white privilege job with their white privilege bank account and their white privilege card. And that somehow we are not all poor white people, and that all of the people that are in this hierarchy are somehow magically at the top and are not at the bottom, and that somehow life is different for the poor whites than it is for the black people. Because they say, oh, well, but look at the rate of poor whites versus poor blacks. You're like, well, there's 30% of black Americans are living in poverty, and only 15% of white Americans are living in poverty. See, that's proof there's systemic racism, right? That means that it's racism. Reason why they're there. Like, okay. So what is their living standard compared to everybody else? Okay, so it's really high. And then you really look into it, and they had all the same opportunities, but on average, the black families put in less money into the children's education, and there's 6 times more white people than there are black people. So the number of poor whites is 3 times larger than the number of poor blacks. But this does not matter to them. It does not matter that there's way more poor white people. The statistics that I read were that about 15% of, or sorry, 30% again of black people reported being racially harassed, and 15% of white people, again, the same ratio of white people reported being harassed. You're like, okay, well then there's this epidemic of harassment against black people. You see, that's white privilege right there, right? And it's like, well, wait a minute, no, you look at the numbers. And there's actually 3 times more white people who are being harassed racially by black people. And most people don't know how to identify anti-white racism, and so they don't even report it because they just think that it's that white people did something to deserve it. But this is what they say with white privilege. What they're saying is they want to have everything that the white man has. The women or the women, they need to have all of the advantages of being a man without any of the disadvantages of being a man or a woman. That's what equal treatment means. And then the black people are doing the same thing. They're saying, wait, but we have to treat everybody equally. The white man are getting all this stuff. So the minorities then also too need to get all of this stuff because I want to come up to the top too. And then it reveals their motive behind it is that they're all just trying to get clicks. They're all just trying to be a part of this civil rights movement. And none of them want to call out the riots. None of them want to call out the crime in the black community. They're like, it's racism. You see, it is the reason why there's all of this crime in the black community is because of racism. It's because the white people are racist. That's why there's crime in the neighborhood where almost everyone is black. It's because of the white people. It has nothing to do with the hip hop music and the drugs and the misogyny and the pimping and the not being there for the kids, the fatherless homes. Nope. It's the white man's fault that he didn't use a condom and that he was rapping with his friends, knocking up white bitches, and he ended up with another baby mama. It's my fault. It's the white supreme pizzas who are pushing this conservative politics. The ones that don't believe them, they're the ones that are the reason why they're doing drugs, rapping, going to parties, having sex with chicks, getting in trouble with the cops, and going to jail. That's the reason why, is because I'm a white supreme pizza, and I got my white privilege house. I got my white privilege wife with my white privilege kids and my white privilege job. But none of it's true. Nah, man, I'm like at the bottom of the social hierarchy, man. Like, people discriminate against me. They think I'm racist because I'm conservative. I'm like, represent the middle America. Like the people who are getting dumped on by all this black looter mobs, these crazy liberals, these feminazis who are pushing this divisive politics where they're using demagoguery, where they're making people sound like they're demons, like they're horrible people because they support conservative politics, because that's their biggest enemy. Because they're covering up the big secret. And the big secret is that native-born Americans have a birth rate that is about 1.64. You need to have 2.1 children per woman in order to maintain your population. And the reason for this is because of the feminist. It's because the women had to shatter that glass ceiling because they didn't want to get the burqa on them. They wanted to get all of the advantages of being a man with no disadvantages of being a man or a woman. This is what equal rights means. It means I get my cake and I get to eat. I get to have my cake and eat it too. And essentially what it is that they're very successful. That the truth is that black people in America are very successful because people love them because they're wonderful people. But what they want you to think is there's an enemy. This enemy is talking hella shit about me. They're racist. They're white supreme pizzas. They're white nationalists. They're white supremacists. And none of it's true. They're just like making up an enemy in their head because they got in an argument with somebody on the internet. And they don't like Donald Trump because the media gaslights you and they put out all this fake news and they're trying to get clicks. They want you to subscribe. They want you to share. They want you to get triggered so that you get engaged in the content so that you're running their narrative, because if you don't, then they're out of a job. Black looter mob cannot exist without scam donations from Facebook and Instagram. You cannot run a black looter mob race riot without social media run by big tech. It's a fact. It's a fact. Without big tech, none of these black looter mob Democrat race riots would be going on, because they are using this demagoguery, this hatred of white supreme pizzas, because the big bad racist wolf is the enemy from the movies and from the video games. They're the Nazis that you need to shoot up in the video game. You got to get rid of them. Blah, 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 blah. Because these people be bad. They white. And because they white, that means they racist now. And because they racist, that means you got to get rid of them. Because that's what this country's about, right? You're not allowed to dislike non-white people if you're white. You're not allowed to criticize BLM because BLM is black people. You are not allowed to defend yourself if the black looter mob attacks you and tries to steal your gun, tries to hit you with a skateboard, pulls a gun out at you. You're not allowed to stand up to the mob, because the mob is under the control of the Democrats. Because this is the reality of the situation, is that the Democrats have been propping up these race riots through these scam donations from charities like Act Blue, like the Black Looter Mob Foundation, aka Black Lives Matter Foundation. And they don't tell you what they're using the donations for. What are they using them for? They're buying luxury houses. They're paying for work for all their homies to do stuff that they didn't actually need to do. They're organizing more race riots. They're putting out more propaganda to make you hate white rural American conservatives. Because if they didn't use demagoguery, well, you wouldn't be clicking on it. You'd be like, yo, these people suck. In fact, these people do suck. I'm going to move on to the next article. Yo, here from the New York Post, the appeals court rules against Trump's bid to keep January 6 records from Congress. A federal appeals court rebuffed the former president and king of memes, Donald Trump's attempt Thursday to fight the release of the records from the House panel probing the January 6th false flag riot at the U.S. Capitol that was mostly organized by the FBI. You can go and watch the videos where the U.S. Capitol Police are letting in the protesters into the Capitol building before outside the FBI agitators start a riot, and then it turns into a riot. And then the police murder one of the Trump supporters. Was it Ashley Babbitt? They just shot her in cold blood. And they want the police officer who sat on George Floyd while he was having a meth and heroin overdose from the excited delirium. They want you to lock him up, throw away the key, because cops are the white supreme pizzas. And that's the boogeyman. That's the people that you got to go after, because that's the people from the books that they make you read in school, like To Kill a Mockingbird. And I don't think I said the right book. What they did with this January 6th thing, which was pretty messed up. Okay, so this is what hold on. Got a couple of tracks going here. I'm gonna stay on track here. What happened was there was this attempted kidnapping of Michigan Governor Whitmer, and the agents that were involved in that okay, so some people are unfamiliar with why that happened. The FBI agents hate Donald Trump. They're part of the deep state, the hires from prior administrations that hate the current administration, and they do illegal things. They live in and around the Washington, D.C. area and other centers of power, and they have friends and family there, and they have a crony network, and they often abuse their power, like the FBI agent Kevin Kleinsmith, who filed for the fake FISA warrant, did fraud upon the court, and he got busted, and this was why they had Trump's wires tapped, because the Steele dossier was completely bogus. It was made up by the Igor Danchenski guy, and Hillary Clinton knew. She deleted all those emails from her server because they were conspiring with this guy Igor Danchenski, who was a Russian agent, saying that Trump was a Russian agent because they got those hookers that trashed that hotel room that that Obama stayed in, and they said that Trump did it. Because Trump had stayed there, and they after Trump left, they brought in hookers to trash the room. Then they said Trump was part of this conspiracy, and then they did the Russiagate investigation, in which Kamala Harris sat on the Russiagate investigation, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Then you got her pal Xavier, I forget, the Attorney General of California, first name Xavier. He was Attorney General at the time, and he wrote letters to the heads of the social media big tech companies, and he said that there was this Russiagate thing going on, and they needed to censor the Republicans who were talking about the warnings about the mail-in voting, like the ballot harvesting. And you had Mark Zuckerberg paid $500 million to do a private takeover of the county election offices in the Democrat swing states, like in Delaware County. The Zuckerbox ballot harvesting boxes that Mark Zuckerberg paid for were placed every 4 square miles, and in the Republican counties it was placed every 11,000 square miles. And I don't know about you, but that does not seem like he's doing it because he's trying to donate some money to the government out of the kindness of his heart because it's a pandemic, but instead because he wanted Joe Biden to win. It was in fact a illegal campaign donation to Joe Biden. And then during this time, you had the FBI failed kidnapping of Michigan Governor Whitmer. And then the same FBI agents who were involved in that plot were then promoted, and they were put in the January 6th crowd, and they were stirring up the crowd with their FBI agitators. You had the head of the Proud Boys was an FBI informant. The head of the Oath Keepers worked for the FBI. He had a top secret security clearance. So the people who were running it were FBI. And then you end up with the riot after the U.S. Capitol Police let the protesters in. And then, so this is what we got to know. I'm staying on point. Is what did Trump know and when did he know it? This is the key to this, is when was Trump made aware that there was a planned riot? And what did he know? Because the New York Police Department warned the FBI. The FBI warned the U.S. Select Committee on Intelligence, as well as the U.S. Capitol Police. They were offered National Guard troops, but they turned it down because the head of the U.S. Capitol Police was a BLM supporter. He did not want to agitate the protesters, allegedly. So they were understaffed. And then there was all the FBI who were there that should have been stopping it at that point in time, but they were instead agitating the crowd after the U.S. Capitol Police let the protesters in, and then it turned into a riot after that. So these are questions that we need to know. When was Donald Trump made aware that there was a planned riot? What did his staff know? Did they do anything to prevent this? Because Donald Trump could have easily said, hey, there's these bad people who are trying to do a riot and we need to stop these people. What did this even come up on the agenda? Did Trump say, hey, you know what? I don't believe these people. You know, is it negligence? Is Donald Trump in with some crackpot conspiracy stuff with Sidney Powell, the wingnut, who was in with the QAnon people pushing some conspiracy stuff? Was that disinformation? Is Donald Trump part of controlled opposition that's designed to discredit the Republican movement in order to blame things that the Democrats did on Republicans? Because there's a variety of things that could be happening here. And we do need to know what the timeline is. So I'm glad that this is happening, because that is a very, very fanciful tale. And I would like to know what exactly is true in there, what is Fox, because those are the facts as we know it. As far as we know it, the FBI instigated this January 6th riot in order to make Trump look bad, because the FBI agents that were in part of the kidnapping of Michigan Governor Whitmer were really bad people, and they wanted Trump to go down. It could have been that Trump is an idiot and he believes Sidney Powell, or he was given documents that were different, and like maybe he was given more information about stuff that so like he could have been given information that to him made it look more legit, and then it was concealed from him, and then Sidney Powell to the public made it look really bad in order to discredit him. We don't know. We're just making assumptions here. I'm not going to pretend. But hey, I got to move on to the next article here from Newsweek. Trump defends, quote, extremely calming, end quote, January 6th speech, urging followers to, quote, fight like hell, end quote. Again, going back to my prior comment here, you know, we need to know, like, what did he know and when did he know it? So I'm looking forward to this, even though the Democrats are running this. It's going to probably be a scam investigation, or it might be a bombshell. Who knows? Who knows? Donald Trump could be a charlatan, as far as I'm aware. His politics worked a lot better than Joe Magoo Biden, who has destroyed our economy. Here's the next article from Newsweek. Donald Trump's refusal to concede fueled the emerging, quote, emerging domestic threats, end quote. In this daily series, Newsweek explores the steps that led to the January 6th riot. So apparently the emerging domestic threat wasn't the race riots. It wasn't the private takeover by Mark Zuckerberg of the county election offices in the swing states. It wasn't the violations of the Help America Vote Act, where Mark Zuckerberg and the shadow campaign that used technology in order to censor the American voters. They did not disclose this technology in the clearinghouse that was set up, that was voluntary by the states in the 2002 Help America Vote Act. And so the legitimacy of the election, definitely from the Help America Vote Act violations, is not really in question, because the states voluntarily signed on to these agreements, which means that because they violated the voluntary agreements, there was quite a bit of good reason for these people to be asking Mike Pence to not certify the election, to let it wait for a couple of months, because there was enough reason to believe that we should be waiting before we just, because they had the dual electors, the electoral college electors who were representing the state legislators, and then you had the ones where the state had voted on some changes to the election laws, where the electors they were supposed to do like a popular vote, and the electors also have free speech. So there's nobody's really challenged these popular vote laws, but the Constitution specifically states the Electoral College is supposed to be the law of the land, and the electors are supposed to have free speech. So these popular vote laws, I don't believe that they're constitutional at all. But this Newsweek outlet is just garbage. I mean, every single time I see these people, they're putting out radicalized content, like opinion pieces from the crackpots on both sides, and they're saying that they're non-partial. They're like, wait a minute. So let me get this straight. So you put out insane propaganda from both sides so that you're able to like control the narrative of both sides. And then you're saying you're non-biased because you're controlling the narrative of both sides. I don't know about you, but I'm not an idiot. That absolutely does not seem like they're non-biased. Let's move on to a news organization that doesn't suck. Breitbart. Fact check, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot claims most crime is down in Chicago. The failed Chicago Democrat Mayor Lori Lightfoot, the one that looks like Beetlejuice, claimed Monday that other than murder, the city's crime rates are mostly trending down. But the Chicago Police Department's own numbers disagree, showing that ... she's a liar. Liar, pants on fire. I mean, what do you expect from Beetlejuice? The one, the only mayor who looks exactly like Beetlejuice. You're gonna get a prankster. This woman is gone. She represents this insane group of Democrats that are very weak. If it was came down to survival of the fittest, none of these people would be on the good side of evolution. They would. The only way that they're able to exist is on other people through these delusional socialist policies. That's how their idea pathogens, mind pathogens, are able to go from one victim to another through this radicalized critical race and gender theory propaganda that they put up to avoid taking the blame for the failed public schools, the crime, the drug abuse, misogyny, fatherless homes up in the hood where the hood Democrats live, the people in the hood that vote for the Democrats. And you gotta wonder exactly how long they're going to be able to be blaming white supremacy for this, because there's like people gunning people down everywhere. Like, people don't even flinch when there's guns going off down there. It's just like another day. They're like, yeah, it's like normal every single day. You hear gunshots. You're like, oh, another one goes down. There you go. Poured out one for the homie, bro. Let's move on. All right, this next article from Breitbart. LA crime, hotel guests robbed of $100,000 in jewelry while waiting for Uber. Los Angeles, California, police are searching for the armed robbers who stole $100,000 of jewelry at gunpoint Tuesday from guests in the Intercontinental Hotel on Wilshire in downtown LA, who were ... From Breitbart News, woke fail, Democrats using Latinx face backlash from Hispanic Americans who do not need a Kleenex. Democrat strategists are flustered as polling shows that Hispanic Americans are increasingly opposed to their using their genderless terms Latinx, which sounds just like Kleenex, to describe them and their heritage. You gotta love the Latinos, because the Democrats are wanting to use this open border policy because they don't like the way the white people vote. So they want to open up the borders, let the cartels take over, so that they could funnel in enough fentanyl every month to kill everybody in America and get filthy, stinking rich getting your friends and family strung out on cartel dope so that they turn into homeless people who are camping downtown and taking shits on all over the sidewalk, banging dope in tents downtown. They have to make up for the low birth rate of the feminists, because all of the women are putting off having kids until the 30s to rise up the man ladder up in the ivory tower, because they got to get that man money so they could wear the pants in a family. And they are putting off having kids until the very last years where they can, using artificial fertilization in order to make up for it, because they care too much about their career. And because of this, it's causing their birth rate to decline down to almost only child levels. And so they need to replace their own voting population, because they hate they hate the white supreme pizza patriarchy so much that they want to bring in all these Latinos, because they think that somehow when you bring in a bunch of Spanish-speaking people with gender language, that it's going to somehow get rid of sexism. Right. See, I like these Latinos. Right, these are my kinds of people. They are God-fearing. They are much more conservative. They dress much nicer than most of the white people who are kind of looking kind of scrubby now that the pandemic has ravaged our economy, and then Biden savaged our supply chain, causing a massive amount of inflation, which is causing everybody to become poor, wiping out all of the gains that the baby boomers made. All of their savings just wiped out from inflation overnight, because Biden had to shut down a pipeline to please the black looter mob. And he had to cripple the supply chain with the illegal vaccine mandates, because it's my body, my choice. Let me see your vaccine passport around here. I want to see your papers. This is the United States of America. What country do you think we're in here, man? Let me see your papers. You don't got nothing to hide, right? Yeah, no, let me see your ID. Is this the right vaccine passport right here? Oh, I see it. I see that you are on the naughty list now. Your social credit score is low. Your credit is low. You're not trustworthy anymore. So that means we're going to get rid of you because you're white. And the white people, we don't like the way the white people vote. So eventually this policy is going to be pretty much a failure, because the Latinos are going out into the country and they like country music. They like cowboy boots and they like working on farms. So if it comes down to, in the end, it's probably going to be a benefit for the conservatives, for the Christians. They're going to have a much larger congregation in their church. And the Latinos are turning against these crazy white feminists who are running the Democrat Party. And they're saying, nope, definitely not going to be supporting the white feminist power structure up in the ivory tower. Here, moving on to this next article here from the Daily Mail. Beverly Hills police chief blames rise in crime on woke bail laws. Let me move this to the other side here. Said the bail law reform laws are freeing criminals behind a spat of recent luxury store smash and grabs and other businesses. You've probably seen the videos of the large gangs of people coming in and stealing as much stuff as they can. As long as you keep it under $900 some odd, then it's not a crime, because the Democrats there don't want to do what is right. They want to do the easy thing. They want to say that everything that the white supreme pizzas did was bad, that the war on drugs is the fault of the Republicans, and that the crime is because of the white supreme pizzas. and the systemic racism, because it couldn't possibly be the public schools that are failed, run by the failed teachers unions, that have no competition, no reason to give you a good product. They got a guaranteed base of customers, so they got to tell you it's systemic racism. That's why all the kids are doing drugs, having sex with random women, knocking up women, and not being there for the kids. It's the reason why the black Americans are not spending as much money on education as the white people. It's the reason why so many black people are making rap music. It's the reason why all of these white women are twerking and hooking up with random dudes at clubs, because somehow white supremacy is the reason why hip-hop music is so popular and why everybody likes the black athletes and celebrities so much. It's because of the white power structure that is holding down all the minorities in the United States. But you cannot bring up the crime in the black community because this is racism. You have to blame white people for this, because it could not possibly be that people are responsible for their own destiny, that parents are responsible for the education of their children, that teachers are responsible for the product that they give the parents, that the teachers unions are responsible for being able to compete with charter schools. It couldn't be that. No, it has to be the racist white people, because the people, it's not the people who are running the corporations. It's the racist white man that has been holding down the black Americans in the ghetto. This is the reason why they're not doing good. But if you call out the crime, this makes you a white supreme pizza that we got to get rid of, because you're bad. Because white people are racist, white people are bad. That means that you got to go because the color of your skin, because of your political orientation. This puts you on the wrong side of the black looter mob. And this means that you're not treating people equally, so we got to get rid of you. Here coming up for this next article from the Daily Mail, 3 elderly men kidnapped from their ranches are found dead on a road in Mexico. Mexican authorities on Sunday said the dead bodies of the 3 elderly men on the side of the road in Zacatecas, town of San Martin, after they were abducted from their ranches on Friday. Here from this next article from the New York Post, murder victim, quote, forced to dig her own grave, and quote, before being shot and buried on a beach. Amanda Albach was found buried on the beach in Irapiraubi Norte del Laguna in southern Brazilian state of Santa Catarina on Friday. She was the murderer thought that she was going to snitch them out to the cops for selling drugs, so they made her dig her own grave before they murdered her. Here in this next article from the Daily Mail, man who held woman prisoner for 4 days as he beat and raped her is jailed for 22 years. Abdul Awil, 29, abused a woman for a period of 4 days between approximately the 28th of September and the 1st of October last year, and yesterday was sentenced in Harlow Crown Court. This was in the UK. This is just a regular scene over there because the open borders has caused a bunch of economic migrants to flood in, and they're not getting the same opportunities, and there are epidemics of crime now. They weren't happy with the way the white people were treating people, so they flooded in a bunch of people from other countries so that they can have more crime, because they wanted to be more like America. They wanted it to be more like the hood, so they got what they wanted. They did not deserve that. Here in this next article from Fox News, remote U.S.-Mexico border area sees 136% spike in illegal immigration encounters, quote, not worth your life, and quote, Border Patrol in the Big Bend sector gives Fox News executives ride-alongs as it deals with a significant increase in apprehensions. The United States southern border is now officially the Wild West again. The black looter mob hated police so much that we now have to have open borders so that we can have cartels taking over the place, making billions of dollars, funneling in fentanyl from the Chinese, getting rich, smuggling humans in, raping large number of the migrant women, utilizing children for sex trafficking operations, also using children to distract the police while they bring in large amounts of narcotics into the country. But the number one problem in the country is white supremacy, because white people are quote unquote bad. Here in this next article from the Daily Mail, COVID-19 UK, government scientists warn Omicron could lead to more hospitalizations than last winter. You better be scared. Have you gotten your booster? You know you need to get 2 boosters. It ain't enough to get a 1 booster. Nope. You gotta have 0 COVID. You can't have no COVID. You can't have no variants going around that are more contagious and less deadly. You can't wait until we know whether or not Omicron, aka the G variant, is more deadly. No, we gotta lock down travel from Africa, even though the variant is in other countries already, and it's gonna devastate the economy of that country when we impose all these travel restrictions and trade restrictions. That doesn't matter, because the virus is coming from Africa, so that makes it extra deadly, because it's coming from the black people, so you better be scared. So you better get another booster. You might want a triple mask, or else you're killing grandma. Here in this next article from the New York Post, man takes 10 COVID vaccine shots in 1 day. A man who was vaccinated against the Cove up to 10 times in 1 day on the behalf of other people has sparked an investigation. So what was going on? There was other people who wanted a vaccine card, and then he took the shots for him. What is going on with this one? Astrid Kumneef, Group Manager Operations for the Cove vaccine and immunization program in New Zealand, said the county's Minister of Health was aware of the issues, taking the matters very seriously. Quote, we are very concerned about... Hold on. Ministry wouldn't say where the events took place. Vaccinologist and associate professor, this is a bunch of BS. It's, zero COVID was never a legit scientific thing ever. It was always a policy coming from politicians who would prefer to make big pharma rich instead of providing you monoclonal antibody treatments. Instead of mitigating the damage that was going to happen, they instead wanted to enforce this zero COVID policy. And then, of course, you're going to get a whole bunch of people who are doing whack things like eating fish tank cleaner to get, because it's got something that's kind of like hydroxychloroquine, where you got people like this injecting all kinds of vaccines. Next thing you know, they're jabbing it into the nutsack. And next thing you know, people are going to be eating horse paste because they heard Joe Rogan ate horse paste on TV. Here in this next article from, how long am I? I'm at 1 hour. Okay, so next article from New York Post. Navy fires destroyer commander for refusing Biden's COVID jab orders. Report. A U.S. Navy officer has reportedly been bounced from his post as second in command of a destroyer for refusing to comply with the COVID jab or test rules. I'm not sure what to think about the military. Private citizens are one thing. I think if you're in the military, you have to do what the commander-in-chief says, even if you think it's stupid and you don't like it. I'm not going to endorse. I absolutely am against vaccine mandates because they are illegal. In order for the state to deprive citizens of their constitutional rights, there are a process to doing that. And a government official cannot use a preponderance of the evidence during this process to deprive you of your rights. They can't say, more than likely this is true. They have to use clear and convincing evidence during the process because that's what the Constitution requires. Because you have a First Amendment right. Because of that, the state needs to go through a process to deprive you of your right. And also, 2, natural infections, asymptomatic spread of the virus are part of herd immunity. At some point in time, you have to have herd immunity. If COVID kills up to 250 out of 100,000 people on average, which is on the high side, you're going to have at most 1 million deaths from COVID before everybody gets infected. And then it's probably going to mutate into something that's endemic. It's not anywhere near as bad. It's like the flu, not as bad as the flu. But until then, what we should have done is we should have focused on treating people's obesity. We should have focused on getting their health up. Instead, we locked down, and people gained a bunch of weight, and most of the people who are dying, most of the people getting hospitalized, they are overweight, over the average age of death. If you take out all of the people over the average age of death, the amount of COVID deaths is approximately equal to the number of deaths from alcohol. There are also a lot of hospitalizations from alcohol. They have about the same risk level. We find the risk level from drinking alcohol to be acceptable. So if you actually do drink alcohol, your risk level of dying from alcohol goes up really high. And if you don't drink alcohol, then you don't have that same risk level. So if you are drinking alcohol, it is actually more dangerous than COVID. Because you're in the age group. It's like you're like in the over the average age of death group who are overweight. Like it's like the worst, most high risk people to die from alcohol are age 29. So if you're in that age group, your chance of dying from COVID is about the same as like dying because you're going out drinking at the bar. It is. You can also too end up in the hospital on a ventilator from going out to the bar, getting too drunk, and then smashing your car. But you should not drive when you're drunk. Here, moving on to this next article from Breitbart. Occupy Democrats, force unvaccinated to, quote, pay out of pocket, and, quote, for hospital treatment if they catch the coronavirus. Occupy Democrats, a far left-wing grassroots political organization that is part of the Democrat Socialists who are pushing socialism. They are radical extremists. They want to punish the Trump supporters who don't want to comply with the vaccine mandate. So instead of just getting a monoclonal antibody treatments and all those other treatments that they come up with, instead, they just want you to only go with the vaccine. And then if you do get sick, we're going to punish you. Because that like makes a lot of sense, right? It only makes sense if you're communist. These people are communists. So it makes about as sense as most of the things that they do, which is completely bozo, if you ask me. Here, moving on to this next article from Breitbart. Nearly 2,000 migrants apprehended in 2 days in single Texas border sector. Del Rio sector border patrol agents apprehended nearly 2,000 migrants in 2 days. The surge of migrants came as the Joe McCoo Biden administration, where Kamala Harris wears the pants, continues to release thousands into the U.S. interior and ... because the Democrats are big fans of the cartels. They love it when they bring in the fentanyl for the Chinese Communist Party. They love it when our people die of fentanyl overdoses, because there's about 90,000 fentanyl overdoses in the United States over the past year. That number is also trending up because the cartels are bringing in enough fentanyl to kill everyone in the country every single month. But that they don't care, because they want access to the Latinos' children, so they will vote blue no matter who by juicing them up with socialism. If we get your kids addicted to government handouts, if we teach them to hate white people by telling them that the white people are this oppressor class that oppresses the minority class, that victimizes them using this whiteness narrative where the white people are justifying their dominance role, and by using their conservative politics in order to pick yourself up by your bootstraps instead of whining like a baby and rioting whenever you get fake news from social media. So it's there's millions of people coming through the south border, and the cartels took over, and they're raping the women that are coming across the border. Our people are dying. Like almost the same amount of people are dying from fentanyl overdoses from the cartels and coming from the Chinese Communist Party that are giving us the chemicals. The cartels, the chemicals. That matters more to them. The getting access to the Latinos' children so they could get them to vote blue no matter who matters more to them than your friends and your family's lives, because they're corrupt politicians. They've had power for way too long. They've drinking the Kool-Aid. They believe their own rhetoric. They believe the lies that the mainstream media has been propagating, because the demagogues that are in control of the Democrats have hundreds of years of experience with their party being in control of the United States Congress for hundreds of years, that they know all the levers of power. They know how to work the demagogue machine so they could race bait you, gaslight you, clickbait you, rage bait you, and get you to trigger so that you buy their line and attack the enemies that they want to. And this is going to be highly problematic when we funnel in all of these illegal immigrants, and then they're expecting to get the American dream, but the country now has 330 million people. And so instead of getting the American dream, they end up as the bottom of the social hierarchy as a permanent underclass. And then the cartels took over. People are selling narcotics to survive because they can't work legally. So then the next step, obviously, is that the cartels are going to take over, and that there's going to be a lot of violence, and that there's going to be people are going to be struggling for power because the white population is turning into a minority by 2060, and then the cartels are getting all of this power, and the Democrats are not going to be able to fight these people. Like, the cartels are in control of the Mexican government. They have a military that's as equipped as our military. These people are no joke. And then we're just giving them access to all these billions of dollars where they're selling fentanyl, getting the chemicals from China, and then China wants to fund them. All of our enemies want to fund these cartels, and then people start fighting, and next thing you know, it's like dystopian nightmare future America where everything's blown up, like we don't have any of the same amenities, they're all gone because now we got cartels killing people, and the white people aren't a large enough group of people in order to have a majority rule, so everybody's fighting for control. Like, this is bad. This is the worst thing that you could possibly imagine for the future of America. This is like, you want to talk about like Terminator style video game, like Mad Max going on. That's what the Democrats are bringing to you because they're possessed, because they've been historically pushing eugenics, pushing abortion, trying to get poor people to give up having kids because they don't like poor whites just as much as they don't like the non-whites. So they've been pushing the free and low-cost abortions on them. And now their population is shrinking rapidly, and they want to maintain control, but they need to have their numbers up. So they got to flood the place with all these Latinos. But eventually, the gig's going to be up because the groups of people who are in control of this scam are going to be different in the future. Now that the population of the white liberals and the white feminists is so low, and the Latino population is so conservative, much more Christian, much more against abortion, because almost every country abortion is illegal except for America, Canada, China, and North Korea. So they need the Latino immigrants to make up for this. They got to put up with the cartels. They got to put up with the fentanyl, with the sex trafficking, with the human trafficking, with all the rapes. Because if they don't, then the conservatives are going to take over. That's the scam. If you weren't aware of it, it's pretty messed up. All right, I'm running out of time here. Let's next article from Breitbart News, and then I'm out. Former Mexican cop sent to U.S. prison for child rape captured on video. A former Mexican police officer will spend 30 years in prison for having a series of videos and photographs where he sexually assaulted a young girl. Authorities in the U.S. discovered the videos ... This is what we're bringing through. This is just the norm, because whenever you have open borders, whenever you like gangs that are selling narcotics and sex trafficking women and children, once you let these people take over, what you're going to end up with is all of the worst of the South of the Latin American countries are going to dump out all these people up here. And just like Donald Trump said that Mexico's not sending us their finest, they're sending rapists, they're sending murderers, they're sending cartel narcotics traffickers. That's because it's true. It's true. Here this stuff is going on almost every day. This is the norm, dude. Like, this is absolutely, like, every single day there's stuff like this going on. There's like cartels that are raping mass amounts of migrants and gunning down people and terrorizing neighborhoods and threatening politicians and corrupting our law enforcement officers. They're terrorists. There's no other way to say it, but other than terrorists are taking over. Joe Magoo Biden bailed out of Afghanistan overnight, leaving $85 billion worth of equipment there, but they left 2,500 troops in Iraq because they didn't want ISIS to take over. So apparently Afghanistan wasn't as big of a problem. There was an ISIS that was going to take over there, but then we have to keep troops in Iraq. Somehow, we have troops at like 800 different bases around the country, but we can't have any troops in Afghanistan at all. And then we can't have any troops on our southern border. We can't do that because then that would mess up the Democrats' grip on power. All right, well, hey, I got to head out. Thank you very much for watching RSS Commentary on Sunday, December 12th, 2021. Again, I am the captain, Cale McCollough. And until next time, as I say every time, farewell, sayonara, aloha, peace be with you, and Godspeed in your journeys, friend.